Hello and welcome to episode 78 of Loaded Sport. Lads, I'm back after a week off. I am returning and I'm sure Aggy out of all of you will be most happy to hear that so I can get back to hosting duties and take it off him. We will get stuck straight in tonight. We've got a full squad. We are back to our best and we've got 4 questions to ask and get into and hopefully argue over, especially when Aggy brings up the most ridiculous stats to back up his answers. So speaking of Aggy, I'll bring you in first, mate. As always, first of all, how are you? And second of all, what's been the highlight of your time between recordings?
I'm all right, thank you, mate. Yeah, it's been a long week, but tomorrow will be my final day of the week. I've got a nice little 4-day weekend all set up, ready for Thanksgiving football and the Seahawks against the 49ers, of course. My highlight of the week is along the NFL side of things, and finally, I've got one over on Kemp. It's been ages that I've been waiting for this. And my highlight is the fact that when we went head to head on the predictions this week, a last minute slip from Valdez Scantling, whatever it is that he did that stopped him from catching that ball from Mahomes, got me the win against Kemp in the prediction. So yeah, I'll take that as my highlight of the week. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Kemp's so far in your fucking head. If that is your highlight of the week,
that's literally what I was thinking.
The funny thing is, I was just watching Kemp's reaction there, and there was no fuck whatsoever. He did not give a flying fuck whatsoever. He wasn't even paying attention to what you were saying. It's like, but Aggy, it's just fucking in Ag's head all the time.
I'm happy for you, Ag. I've said to you before, mate. I'm happy for you. I am very, very proud of you, mate. Well done.
Mr. Kemp, how are you, my friend? Little bit, some technical problems that you face this week means that you're recording on a tablet tonight, mate. So I'm going to guess that that's not going to be the highlight of your week, but how are you?
No. I'll be honest, Dawson, there's been very few highlights of my week so far, to be fair. But highlights of my week since recording, I'm not sure.
Graduation.
The tougher, yeah, it's going to have to be, yeah, Blandy, bless her, my esteemed girlfriend.
I thought I just chuck it in there before it says something else.
It's bland related. It's going to be bland related. It's the only thing that's seeing Nigel Farage's bum is about on a level. It's about on a level with Bland's graduation, but yeah, a master's degree in psychology. Extremely proud. Sat in Pons Forge for 2.5 hours for 30 seconds of woo, and then that was it. So yeah, that pretty much sums up my week out. But yeah, Mr. Dawson, Mr. White, the man with the mic. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Good. And last, and as always, by no means least, Sam. I feel like I need to mix this up a bit because I feel like I always save you till the end. Maybe that's some subconscious thing going on. But how are you, mate? And what's been the highlight of your time between recordings?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. A little bit of a sore throat, but we battle on, don't we? As we always do. Highlight of the week. I think I've got a couple. If I'm going to drop a couple of honourable mentions in there, I think I've got to say Packers beat Chargers. I think that were a really enjoyable game for me. I watched it because I got quite a lot of fancy implications with Keenan Allen on the other side. It was I really enjoyed it because I've got to the point now where I know we're not going to be seriously competing this season, so I've kind of let it go. And now I've done that, it's quite liberating. So yeah, just thoroughly enjoyed the game. Obviously, a five-a-side, that's always a highlight of the week. Fitness getting better every time we play. And then probably what might just peak number one would have to be the carvery on a Sunday. I sent you a picky of the carvery, and it were special as always. So yeah, a couple of decent things I've had this week. So actually, don't know why I've not mentioned that.
I'm waiting.
I just realised. Yeah, and obviously we've started swimming again, me and Katie, and we've had a goal to get at the see how many meters we can do. It's a 25-meter pool, so obviously we're doing a length at a time, and finally broke the 1 kilometre mark on Saturday morning, was it? I think Saturday morning. So yeah, swam a kilometre Saturday morning and 5-a-side Wednesday. So yeah, getting a bit fitter as we approach the cold winter months. How's yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm well, mate. I'm well, thank you. Obviously, I had a week off to go to Prague, and too many highlights to mention. It was a fantastic trip, and I'm not sure what I should or shouldn't say on the record, so we'll just say it was a great trip all
Just
round.
Remember, this can always be referred back to in many years' time.
Yeah.
When you're on Talk Sport.
Just be careful.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave it there. You lads know, and for now, that's all who needs to know. So let's crack on with episode 78, shall we? And I've spun the wheel, of course, as always, and the person up first to ask their question this week is Mr. Sam White.
Oh, so my question this week is, if you could make a documentary about one sports person's life, who would it be and why? I was going to put a couple of caveats in it, but I just thought, no, I'm just going to let it kind of roll as it is. I will admit, this week I was really, really struggling for a question, and my mind was just blank, and I could not for the life of me think of a decent question to ask. So I'm going to give Katie full credit here, because this is Katie's question.
Oh, yeah, Katie.
I will let upset her, and I says to her, I can't think of one. She's reeling off all these questions. I'm like, no, done it. And she mentioned that, and she rephrased it a bit weird, and I was like, oh, I can work with that. So I kind of put it in some good words, and there we are. So Katie's question, and I think Aggy, we'll start with you, mate. So a documentary about sports person. Who are you going for?
I'm going to go David Beckham Netflix treatment.
That's the one.
I'm going to go with Sir Alex Ferguson.
Ooh.
I think there's been a lot of talk about obviously what happened as manager of Manchester United in the past.
You say it, Kemp. You say it.
What?
I mean, I feel like he got a big one last year, didn't he?
Massive Netflix documentary last year. Mate.
Yeah.
In Prime, Amazon Prime, weren't it?
That was going to be my caveat. My caveat was going to be it can't be something that's already been done. And then I just thought, right, you're getting to dicey waters. And so,
see, I weren't aware that's already been done. So if it is a case of he's already had like a huge one done, then come back to me at the end, and I'll come up with some Michael Owen bullshit. But until then, I'm going to go with Fergie. I think with everything that happened during his career as manager of Manchester United, the way in which it came up, of course, managing two teams, a club and a national team at the same time, that kind of thing, I think that he deserves one. But I don't know if any of that sort of stuff was mentioned in that documentary. I'm assuming it was. Yeah,
it went right back. Yeah. Went right back from Aberdeen and all the way through. So
in that case,
Class 92 and everything.
I'll come up with something else.
Yeah, fair enough. Then
it's a fucking hot start to this week's episode.
It's a hot start. Thanks, Aggy. I'll jump in next then. So I have got down Francis, and it depends how you want to pronounce his last name, Ngannou or Ngannou. I don't think it really matters. Everyone says it either way. But I normally go in
Francis
Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
Ngannou.
That's fine. That's not a problem. As we know, the Predator, as you say, not a sexual one, thankfully, but I don't know anything about the UFC, and I didn't really know anything about this guy up until the Tyson Fury fight. So that's poor from me, but it's just a sport I've never really dived into. And then obviously, as he was fighting, all his backstory come to light to the mainstream media, and yeah, I just think that sort of person is just absolutely screaming. Not just a documentary. I think it needs a film. I think it started off in Cameroon, and I was looking. He had a 14-month journey. Just his journey alone from Cameroon to France, I think, would be worthy of a film. Crossed through about 5 different countries. I think when he was 10-year-old, he used to walk 6 miles to school every day. And it got to different places like Mali and all these really dodgy run countries, like where the police are heavy-handed and the bribes are quite bad. And he had to swallow his money, so he's constantly shitting his money out all the time and just doing whatever he can to survive. He got to Morocco, and in Morocco, we were living in the woods, in the forest, and eating out of bins and shit like that. And just in the back of your mind, you're always thinking about that Tyson Fury fight, where he's essentially made the pinnacle of all sport, and you just harking back to where it come from. I think he had to live in like a prison in Spain at some point, and then all this time is going. And he wants to be a boxer, and he gets to France. He finds a gym. And it looks like he's decent with his hands, but the guy said I want to make money out of this. And the guy basically says, you're going to struggle with boxing. It's a crowded market. You're not going to probably get your break. But if you want to go to MMA and have a look at that. 8 years later, after that conversation with his trainer, is the world heavyweight champion in the UFC, which is just an absolutely unbelievable story. So for me, Francis Ngannou. It would make an unbelievable series, and I think an even better film, to be honest. So that would.
And
be...
it sounds crazy, but there's so much more that you've not even mentioned.
Yeah, I've skimmed it, mate. I've skimmed. I've got an article in front of me here.
I know you'll be aware of it. I know you'll be aware of it, but what I'm saying is how crazy is it that you've rifled off all that shit, and there's so much more that you've not even mentioned. That could go in there. Working in a sand mine as a kid.
Yeah,
like doing literally slave labour as a kid. The fact that he tried to get to France like 6 times and got picked up by police, border force and whatever, and dropped back in the middle of fucking desert and had to make his way back to civilization. Yeah. Crazy, absolutely mental. And I think that documentary, if it was made, I don't know if it'd be a documentary or maybe a film, I think would be better, because then you'd be able to.
Could it? I think it.
I think it could. Well,
Daniel B. Jordan.
Yeah, but like I say, it'd have to be. I think it'd have to be some sort of feature film, or like say they're Dawson, a series, because they'd have to capture the cinematography of all the sleeping in the prison and living in the jungle and all that shit. I think it'd be very, very difficult to do. I mean, don't do a documentary at the same time, but I think it'd be very difficult to fit all that into one film, because, like I say, Sam, he's been through the ringer, but now he's on top of the world. Gymshark sponsor. Francis Ngannou.
There it is. A little name drop there. I didn't even want to mention. I didn't even want to mention his UFC career, because, as they say, the rest is history. So that's all, we already know that. But I just thought that his story, his personal story, to get just to where he was and to get into the competition, I just thought that it's an unbelievable story. So yeah, Francis Ngannou for me. And Dawson, you want to go next, mate?
Yeah. So I, unlike Aggy the journo, made sure that I was Googling to see what documentaries were available and things like that. And when you originally asked, obviously you just said sports documentary as a whole, and my mind instantly went to Beckham, Netflix documentary. Who would I want given that treatment? That, Kemp, you mentioned there about getting the cinematography and everything else like that. Netflix are going to give you the budget. They never shy off on giving it the full-blown treatment. Initially, I went Gaza, but then he's had the odd documentary sort of mainly over here. But then I thought, does he deserve the big payday? But I thought, no. I think he's done the podcasts, he's done the interviews, he's had the odd documentary here and there and everything else like that. So the person that I've settled on is not necessarily from a sport that I watch often, but I think his story, not as as much of an underdog as Ngannou, as you mentioned there, Sam. But I landed on Tiger Woods, who arguably is one of the greatest sports people of all time. He didn't get a mention from any of us when we had the conversation a few weeks back, but he was someone that was picked by our listeners and viewers in terms of comments on social media. And I think his story is fantastic. Starting playing off golf at a very, very young age. We know how successful he was, not just in golf, but as a sports person in general, in the argument of being the most successful sports person of all time. So that alone, in terms of that mindset, we talk about Michael Jordan, the documentary he had on Netflix, and getting in that mindset of what makes a truly great and successful sports person. But then you look at everything else. You look at off the fucking what's the fucking come on, off the what? Not off the field, not off the pitch. What am I after, Kemp?
Off the course.
Off the course, we'll go with that. So off the course, it's scandals like the extramarital activities that he got up to, and all the affairs that came out, and the media coverage that got. That would make such an interesting episode, or a couple of episodes, to that sort of perceived downfall. Then you look at the injuries, the multiple back surgeries he had, where it looked like he'd never played golf at a high level again, to then come into the 2019 Masters and wear that green jacket yet again, which again is probably one of the biggest individual sports wins of all time, based on how basically fucked his back was, to not only come back from it, but win what is arguably the biggest sport in golf, the biggest tournament in golf, and one of the biggest tournaments, most prestigious tournaments in all of sport. I just think the success that he had in general would make a great story. The media coverage that he had, very much like a Beckham that we've just recently had, and also that comeback from major injury as well to win yet again. I think as a whole, as a 10-part series, would be absolutely phenomenal to watch. And like myself, I'm not the biggest golf watcher. I've watched it in bits and bobs over the years. I've never played it, but even that story, I think, would captivate just sports fans in general and be very, very successful. So I'll go with Tiger Woods for that one.
Like it a lot. I'm going to give Aggy a little bit more time, and it looks like it's pretty much done now. But Kempy, what are we saying, mate?
I'm going to use a prop for this one, if you don't quite mind. Just bear with me for a second.
Like it.
I'm going to go with the reigning and defending. We mentioned there the former UFC heavyweight champion of the world. I'm going with the reigning and defending UFC heavyweight champion of the world, John Bones Jones.
Nice.
And the reason I'm going with John Bones Jones is that he is probably now, without a shadow of a doubt, the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Unbeaten, the only loss on his record is from a disqualification from a 12-6 elbow, which is pretty bullshit in terms of how the rule sets go. The reason they banned the 12-6 elbow, which is you can't elbow your opponent like that, is that they saw old karate instructional VHSs and saw people breaking bricks and cardboard and whatever with that. So that's why they banned it in MMA. True story, not even joking. That's how fucking primal MMA was back in the 90s. But that's the only defeat on his record. Apart from that, he's beaten everybody there is to beat in his division, out of his division. He's beat DC, he's beat Alexander Gustafsson, Cyril Gane more recently, Ovin St. Preux, fucking Vitor Belfort when Vitor Belfort was fucking running through people, beat Shogun for the title. Like, the guy's resume is completely unmatched. Two-time or two-division champion, light heavyweight and then heavyweight, and an unbelievable sports person that you could probably do a documentary just on his sporting achievements. However, that's not the reason that I've chosen John Jones. The reason that I've chosen John Jones is that he is fucking chaos. And the amount of times he's been arrested, hit and run incidents, involving assaults, incidents involving taking drugs or in possession of drugs, the amount of times that he's tested for drugs in the UFC, UFC 200, an unbelievable trademark event for UFC 200, Cormier versus John Jones, the rematch. John Jones tested positive for steroids, pulled out of the fight by USADA. So the amount of controversy that John Jones has been through in his career, and he's still the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, is fucking crazy. And I know obviously he's got a couple of brothers, mainly Chandler Jones in the NFL, who's a fucking freak himself. And yeah, that just kind of shows you his genetics and his ability to take to a sport like mixed martial arts. But I think looking into his past, looking into the controversies that he's had, all the issues that he's had, as well as the MMA career that he's had as well, I think John Jones is my choice for the best documentary, because it would be fucking chaos. And that's what we like, boys.
Absolutely. It's a cracking choice. And Chandler Jones currently not in the NFL, currently out of the league because he's got to put his poorly in the head. So I think it probably runs in the family. I think they've all got a bit of a screw loose, to be fair.
Exhibit A, as Theo Von would say.
At Theo Von. Aggy, right, we've stalled enough, mate. Stop fucking about. Let's finish up my question. Who are you going for?
After that Ferguson one, I found this very difficult. I've looked at plenty of different names. Lewis Hamilton's got one coming out soon. I've looked at the likes of Neil Warnock. I thought that would be quite interesting, but he's got one as well.
That'd have been a belter.
He's got one.
He's fucking got one.
He's got one, so I thought I'll leave
it. Not only has he got one, it's the best documentary ever made. What are we talking about here? Don't get better than that.
I'd like an updated one.
So I thought that one's absolutely...
Give him the Netflix payday, he deserves it.
I am going to stick within the Formula One theme that I mentioned with Lewis Hamilton, though, and I'm going to go with Jenson Button. I think it'd be interesting to see somebody who was always deemed as a non-competitive driver for the World Championship to have won the World Championship in 2009 with Brawn. I know there is a documentary out on Brawn and the way the team was put together, but seeing from his perspective the way he made it into Formula One back in the late 90s to start his career in Formula One in 2000, his 17-year career, the different teams that he raced for, driving alongside the likes of Lewis Hamilton, competing against the likes of Michael Schumacher. I think it'd be nice to see just how times have changed and how he made his way in, how that compares, and then his transition from not only being a Formula One racer as well, but into his work at the moment in Sky as a reporter as well. So, yeah, and of course, it's always nice to hear from a world champion how he went on with winning the championship in what was a dominant season. So, yeah, Jenson Button's the one, and the title for it would be the Comeback King.
I don't want to be that guy, but there's just on Disney Plus been that Brawn documentary released.
I've just mentioned Brawn, yeah. That's why I'm looking at the driver's perspective from not just with Brawn, but his time before then when he started in Williams and ended in McLaren as well.
Aggy, you don't give a fuck about current. He wants it when he was 15. He's trying to get into the sport.
Fucking go-karting.
That's it. He's throwing it back. He is.
I just think that from a driver's perspective, not just from the constructors and away from Brawn as well.
Yeah. Just so you know, mate, there's a full episode dedicated to that as part of that Braun documentary.
He's not letting it go. He's not letting it go.
See,
Aggy wants Jensen Button going round fucking go-karts in Skegness. That's what Aggy wants.
See, I roll over Aggy.
I've not watched it yet, so I don't know. But Sam, that's 4 different sports documentaries for you there. We've got, I can't even remember. So we've got 2, well, predominantly mixed martial artists, a golfer and a Formula One driver. What do you think?
Yeah, very happy with the response. It did take me a while to. I had him penciled in. I think I even had a question mark over his name for a long time, and I could not think of a better story to be. If I wanted someone, I think that I knew personally a bit more, not on a personal level, but someone that I can go back to a memory, and I couldn't
with that.
I wouldn't need to research it. I just know his story, and I couldn't really think of one. So I thought Ngannou, I think he's. So I've had to do a little dive.
If you want to learn a little bit more, if you've not already done so, watch the first interview he did with Joe Rogan, the first one.
Ooh, okay.
Not the second one before the Fury fight, the first one that he did back in the day. And that's where he talks about his entire story from Cameroon all the way to the UFC.
I've been reading the footnotes of that interview, to be fair. I have read it a lot, but yeah, I would definitely something I would watch, to be fair.
To be fair, I'm obviously happy with my choice, John Jones, because I know the backstory of John Jones and what he's been through, but I think yours is even better than mine. I think if you could say to me one sports documentary you want to see, it'd be Francis Ngannou. Either that or a biopic. I think a biopic would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll take the winner there, boys. I don't know about you.
But definitely not fucking Jensen Button. Let's leave it there.
Moving on, skin for fuck's sake.
Yeah, let's do that. And the lads, I am up next, so we'll get stuck straight into it. So basically, my question is this. You can go back in history in the last year, in before you were born, whenever you want, and you can attend either one football match, one NFL game, one UFC or boxing card, one Formula One race, one event in any sport across history that you want. You're in the crowd, prime seat, and you are witnessing it firsthand. So that is your question. What would that game, fight, card, match, whatever you want to call it, be? Aggie, you can't say Michael Owen's debut for England under 15s, all right?
With cock in hand.
Yeah, so maybe I'll leave you there goes the TalkSport deal. Anyway, Sam, I'll come to you first for this one, mate.
Oh, fucking hell, surprised me. I thought you were into Aggie there when you said Aggie's name. I thought I'd go a bit swerve on this one, I think, because I know that the event I'm about to say is going to be, I think, mentioned again at some point again in the show. So I'm going to keep this one quite brief, and I'm just going to say I will cede my seat to this event, and I would like Aggie to go to the Euro 2020 final at Wembley, and I would like him to police the fans and the situation, because we had a very bad name. We had people shoving flares up arses. We had fucking glass all over the street. And I just think if Aggie's there, shake your finger, getting his compliance head on, I think we'd look a lot better in front of all of the world. So I'm keeping it short and sweet, and I'm sending Aggie back to Euro 2020 at Wembley, just to try and fucking get a grip on place and get your compliance head on, mate. You tell him.
That's fair. You've got the opportunity to go back and watch anything in history. You send it Aggie instead. If that's not a fucking loophole to the question, I don't know what is, but we'll take it. We'll take it. And hopefully, if the fans behave, the result might have gone quicker. Sorry, should I say. Aggie, I'll come to you, mate. I'm assuming you're sending Sam somewhere in return, but what have you got?
Mine will be, as you guys know, Kemp and Sam were in particular from last week, I have started watching more combat sports, including boxing and the MMA. And I've been doing my research looking at different fights that have taken place. And I thought, of all of the fights, I'm going to go with Vladimir Klitschko against Lennox Lewis. It took place in the Bellagio. I've always wanted to go to Vegas anyway to see the Bellagio fountain, so I can go and see that at the same time. The lights went out near the beginning, and it was absolute chaos for everybody. And people managed to walk out with thousands upon thousands in their pockets because the power outage caused tech issues with the slot, so I could also make myself rich at the same time. So that's my event.
Interesting. So I'm really glad you lads have took this question seriously this week, because Sam's sending Aggie and Aggs is going for to steal some money. So I'm not sure what's happening here. But anyway, I'll go next. Originally, for quite a lot of the time, I've got a list of questions ready for future episodes. And pretty much the whole time when I thought of this question, I had the Super Bowl where the Patriots came back from 28-3 down to beat the Atlanta Falcons. A Super Bowl that I watched with you, Sam. It was one of the first Super Bowls. I think it may be the second or third ever Super Bowl we watched together with Tina and Liam at Tina's old house. Obviously, we remember he was absolutely adamant that we locked the dog in the cage before we left, but don't worry about the front door, all that kind of stuff. Some great memories. But I thought, as great as a comeback as that was, it wasn't punchy. It was drawn out. A lot of that time, I'm going to be really downbeat and feeling like what a waste of time. And there's obviously those little moments where the comeback starts. I live for the pop, lads. You know this. I live for the reaction, and I wanted something a little bit more punchy and a bit more instant. So I've landed on Super Bowl 49, the New England Patriots against the Seattle Seahawks. Something that we've quoted before. Sam, we were on an Xbox party back in the day. I was sat with Tommy, 2 days old. And what a Super Bowl that was. The Legion of Boom, that all-timer Seattle Seahawks defense in the fourth quarter, 10-point lead over the New England Patriots. And Tom Brady put the Patriots on his back and dragged them through for the win. And they're sort of the highlight moment, a clip that's still shown all these years later, nearly 9 years later, is that Malcolm Butler, the rookie, the interception on the goal line. And I just think that as a moment, just that feeling of being sick, like this is happening. The Seahawks have gone down the field. Marshawn Lynch getting tackled right at the goal line by Dante Hightower. And this is it now. Lynch just runs it in. They take the lead, and there's not really much time for Patriots to make the comeback. They obviously then make that decision to throw the ball. And Malcolm Butler, as shown, a play that they'd practiced all week in training, nipped ahead of the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver and took the ball. And yeah, what a moment, what a reaction from the sidelines, from the crowd, and I think what a moment to witness. So yeah, I'll go with Patriots versus Seahawks in Super Bowl 49 for the event that I'd put myself at. Kemp, we've got one NFL, we've got one I can't remember, one boxing event, and then we've got Aggy policing a major international footballing final.
Aggy not even going to the match, just stood outside with Aggy's vest on. Yeah. It's marshalling everyone. Yeah,
Aggy,
love that.
That viral clip of that steward where he's just like very lightly touching the side like a little bit and then moving on. Aggy is the fucking opposite end of that. It's full policing, but
naked, everyone naked every time going through.
Yeah. Searching arseholes for flares. Anyway, Kemp, where are you sticking yourself, mate, in the history of sport?
I'm going down your route, Dawson. I'm not going just so I can send Aggie somewhere, and I'm not going just so I can maybe send a few bob. I'm going back to the Thriller in Manila, widely considered one of the greatest boxing matches of all time. And I've got a few stats for you here, boys, as well, because I know you do love a stat. So the fight, as we know, was finished in the 14th round. It was a trilogy between Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier for the heavyweight championship of the world, when that used to mean something back in the day. The fight in total, and this is in 1975, so just put, television and broadcasting isn't the same today as it was back then. It's estimated that the fight was watched by 1 billion viewers. Ooh. Back in 1975, that'll have been like 1/5 of the planet or 1/4 of the planet. Watch Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. Like I say, the trilogy fight in the Philippines, the Thriller in Manila at the Arantia Coliseum. And yeah, it's one of the most legendary, one of the most brutal fights in the history of the sport. Muhammad Ali, like I say, winning the 14th round as Joe Frazier couldn't get off his stool. But I think that was kind of the peak of Muhammad Ali, sort of the peak of his powers. Smoking Joe Frazier was an unbelievable killer of a heavyweight as well. And will go down in history as one of the greats. But I think that was kind of where the heavyweight division sort of peaked. And then since then, it's sort of been on a slow decline all the way up to the WBC heavyweight champion of the world fighting against somebody who's never had a boxing match. So you can see how far we've fallen in that 40 years. But yeah, like I say, I think that's where I'd go. It's such a historical moment in a sport that I do like a lot when it's in the ring. So I'd take myself back to 1975, down to the Philippines, and back to the Thriller in Manila.
Back when boxing was a proper sport, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always been fucking corrupt. Let's be honest. It was built by criminals, so it's always going to have been corrupt. But I think back then it was a little bit more. You know, as John Fury would say, Sam. What would John Fury say they were back then? The boxers. What were they? What were they back then?
They're fighting men.
They were fighting men. That's what they were. They were fighting men. So yeah, that's the allure of 1970s boxing and the trilogy there for me.
To be fair, when Sam's sort of subject or question was, what do you want to rant about? You were ranting about the state of boxing. Maybe the fact that we've come away from criminals having control of it is where the issue lies.
Maybe
because they were fighting then. It was proper winning. Now it's just fucking.
Make no mistake, mate.
Criminals in charge.
Yeah, but
criminals still run it.
They just call Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. They just change their names.
Not criminals in the street though. That's what I mean. Maybe we need to give it back to the real criminals of the world, the proper ones. But maybe
we could just get Ag to every boxing event we have his vest on and sort of all that. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Next up, Kemp. I left you to answer that last, and it's your question next.
Yes, it is my question next. And I must admit, I was struggling a little bit for a question myself this week. I'm not going to lie to you. I did think about a few different things, but I then decided on one particular thing. And that thing is, if you could go to one cup final in history, what's your favourite cup final ever, basically? So let's not go back to history. Let's just talk about what your favourite cup final is. Let's ignore sending Aggy back. Let's ignore sending Aggy back with Harvey's vest on. I've got carried away with Aggy and his Harvey's vest. What is your favourite cup final you've ever seen? And Dawson, I'll start with you.
Okay, so it's a cup final that has been mentioned already, and Sam alluded to the fact that he didn't want to get too deep into it. But despite the heartbreak at the end, my favourite cup final has to be England versus Italy in Euro 2020, but obviously actually took place in 2021. I very, very much like the answer to my own question. For a long time, I was going to go with United versus Chelsea in the Champions League final back in 2008, but I had to go with this in the end. I know England lost, but the occasion, obviously us lads watching at the Star, which were our new home for international football after pretty much, all our adult lives being at the welfare. Watching that Denmark game, stood out in the rain, and that extra time winning, it just felt like this was it. It was COVID, starting the tournament with minimal crowds, and throughout the tournament, and each stage that percentage of capacity increasing up until I think about 80% for the final, and just a red hot crowd, and it just felt like the moment. We turned up at the start. It was another rainy day, but we just felt it inside. Luke Shaw scoring early doors, even earlier than Kieran Trippier had against Croatia in the World Cup semi-final a couple of years earlier. And for the most part, it looked like it was happening. Italy equalised. We can talk about the tactics. We can talk about the decisions along the way. But then it got to a penalty shootout. And again, we know our history with penalty shootouts, but that World Cup victory against Colombia seemed to have put that to bed. And then, didn't go great. Saka missed, Sancho missed, Rashford missed, Jorginho stepped up, and that was it. I think, Sam, I remember us two looking at each other like it's game over, because we know how good Jorginho was as a penalty taker historically at club level, and Pickford pulled out an unbelievable save. Didn't bow down to the pressure of moving early like Jorginho likes to get him to do. He stood his ground and he made the save and continued what had been a phenomenal tournament. Harry Maguire with England's second penalty, one of the best penalties I've ever seen, right in the top bins. It just, I know ultimately they lost with that. I think it was Saka that missed the decisive penalty. I can't remember. But just as a whole, what a day, what a game, and it just. For 98% of it, there was that hope, and it was the last 2% that reminded us all that it's the hope that kills you. But it's how can I not go with that? What an occasion! Yeah, rightfully so. To be fair, and I think everybody, including myself, was getting very excited when we were a goal up. But I must admit, I never got too excited, and I'm glad I didn't in the end. But there you go. So it's a valid answer all the same, and it's the closest we've got, and it's potentially the closest we'll ever get in our lifetime. So we'll see about that. Aggy, wait. Aggy, have you got anything to say in response to that last statement there? Euro's coming up next year.
It's coming home.
Yeah, we just drew 1-1. We just drew 1-1 against North Macedonia, mate. Fuck off. Sam, you're next. I'm skipping over Aggy now. It's pissed me off. Sam, you're next, mate.
I'm glad you're not finished with me, because I don't think man's the best of answers. But I have settled on the 2013 FA Cup final.
Ooh.
Wigan versus Manchester City. 86,000 in attendance. Wigan's first FA Cup final and Man City's 10th in their history. Just really, really scrappy, sluggy game. Wigan had shot for the most part, 0-0 at half time. Then Zabaleta gets sent off in the second half for a second bookable, and all of a sudden you're thinking, hang on a minute, can Wigan actually pull off an upset here? And lo and behold,
whoa. Cup set. Sorry, yeah, that's my fault. Cup set, and
Sean Maloney in the 91st minute had a corner for Wigan. And he whipped it in, and as Kemp is doing the action there, Big Ben Watson towers over. I'm not sure who he towered over, and ended up lobbing Joe out with the header, and Wigan went on to win 1-0.
That time, I would imagine Martin Di Michaelis, because I can't imagine Company getting towered over for that one.
Yeah, I've read it. I've read it as well. Who we out jumped. I can't remember who it was, but yeah, and Wigan went on to win 1-0 in one of probably the biggest FA Cup final cup sets of all time. So yeah, I think that would probably be a fitting one for me. I do love an FA Cup final, and Wigan beating a Man City team that were just on the up. Everything were looking good for City. Obviously, after the takeover, I think they just won the Premier League at that point as well. And then Wigan went and stumped them in the final. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Wigan went and got relegated the season after as well. So
I think it was the same season.
No, it was the same season. It was the season after.
I don't think it was the same.
I thought it was the same season.
I'm not sure.
Because the season would have finished, wouldn't it? And then the FA Cup final played.
It did.
I don't believe they went down.
I'm sure, because when I went to watch Coldplay, that was at the Etihad, and we were there quite early, so we walk around the stadium. They've also got statues up of and different sort of in their short history where they've actually won things. And I'm sure I ended up reading about that final because of something I read. And again, I'm 99% sure that it was Wigan got relegated the year after.
No, they got relegated same year with Reading and QPR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So got relegated 18th, but they won the FA Cup same season.
Wow,
even more
there we
impressive.
go. That's even better story than I've undersold that. So yeah, for that reason, even more, that will be my favourite final.
Yeah,
it's not, and I'm glad you changed your words, because when you originally asked us this question, you didn't say which final would you want to go back in history, because that is definitely not the final I want to go back.
No, absolutely not. That's me just fucking on the fly, just imagining Aggy at FA Cup finals all throughout history with his Ivy's vest on. That's all that was. So apologies for changing the goalpost there. Apologies for that.
Just a quick one on that, if I can. Obviously, Roberto Martinez was the manager of Wigan at the time. I think he, considering how much time he got for Belgium with that absolute golden generation, I think he was living off that win for a very long time, weren't he? Because
dining off it.
Yeah. Although he's doing pretty well now as Portugal manager, he's doing pretty well. He's made a good start, so we'll see how he gets on.
I think he's the equivalent of Southgate, mate. To be fair, but yeah, we'll not get into that.
I wouldn't say that, because he's won something, whereas that useless liar's won fuck all. And actually, to be fair, with that FA Cup final, I do want to give myself a little bit of a shout out, because when Wigan got to the quarter final, I actually called them winning that FA Cup at the quarter final stage. So I was quite proud of that, and that's probably the best sporting shout I've ever had.
It's a good shout.
Kevin Keegan.
Yeah, it is a good shout. I must admit, I did have a look at their cup run, and it's fucking diabolical. The big Millwall in the semi-final, so it was literally a matter of beating Man City in the final.
Yeah.
Which obviously, it was a massive thing to do. Definitely not going to take anything away. But before the final, their run was absolutely appalling.
What's with Millwall being unreal in FA Cup, by the way? Didn't United beat them in FA Cup final 1 year?
3-0.
Yeah, then they were in Europa League, weren't they? Because they got to the final.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, Dennis Wise was still, I think he was player manager for him.
Player manager, he was, yeah.
Fucking got older and out there like face.
Yeah, anyway, now we've gone through a brief history of FA Cup semi-finals, Wigan Athletic and Millwall. Let's move on to something a little bit more dreary and talk about Aggy's choice for his final that was his favourite. So, Aggy, talk to me about a 0-0 ball draw that ended on penalties.
He's going fucking town at Wembley here all day.
100%. Yeah, no, we've already spoke about this. Yeah, I'm going with Chesterfield against Swindon in the Johnson's Plate Trophy
fuck
final
off.
now. Or as some call it.
Sam's fucking face. Look at how stop. Sam, do it again. Need to get the thumbnail this week.
Yeah, I didn't want you to come to me
any
last mate
because in history of football.
The St Johnstone's Paint Trophy final.
My favourite that I've watched, so I'm going
Yeah,
with the one
but
that I've watched.
it could have been any that you've watched on telly. You've got whatever.
My favourite are going to include Chesterfield.
Why is it?
Because
Man's doesn't include Sheffield United. Sam's doesn't include fucking Derby.
Yeah, but that's
doesn't include Man United. Or any of the other clubs that he supports.
Law of averages, it definitely involves one of them.
Yeah, Italy. Anyway,
go on then, talk to me about your Johnston's LDV Vans Trophy final.
Back in 2012, it was Chesterfield against Swindon. Chesterfield bottom of League One at the time, Swindon top of League Two, and it was kind of storied as Paolo Di Canio's big moment at Wembley. He never won at Wembley as a player. It was meant to be, they were running away with the League Two title. Di Canio was expected to have this big success story with Swindon at Wembley. West Ham supporters were buying tickets to go and watch and everything. It somehow managed to attract 49,000 fans overall, and we went away and won
45 of them were Swindon, weren't they?
45,000.
Yeah.
No, mate, West Ham.
Oh,
so I've just said West Ham supporters were going to cheer on Di Canio as well. But yeah, it was a nice 2-0 win for us. There were a lot of controversy surrounding it, but we got to see, and I got the front row tickets as well, so I got to sit at the front row for it. And as Skim wanted me to tell this story at the time whilst I was at uni.
I've got front row tickets because there were about 1,300 Chesterfield fans, so they were just giving them away. And
like confetti.
I didn't even know I'd got front row seats. I'd got there with my ticket, scanned it in, everything, walked through, asked the steward at the time, like, where am I sitting? And he pointed, like, right to the front, so I was at the front.
Row A's not enough of a giveaway for us.
But yeah.
I've got him. Yes, fucking got him.
I've lost where I was going with that then.
You asked the steward where you were sat.
Are you sure you weren't supposed to be one at Stewards, that close? I think we had his on.
He asked the steward and Stewart gave him a clipboard.
That's why you're front row. Stood in front of everyone.
Oh, fucking hell.
Oh, kid, you're crying. You got him crying.
Oh,
I'm a big fan of that.
I can't remember where I was going with it, but yeah, we got a 2-0 win. We lifted the trophy. We won. We got relegated the same season, but we managed to win, and we upset Di Canio, of course, which is always good.
Well done, mate. You beat a team below. You beat a team at division below you. Well done, mate.
Well done. He's 13.
It's that vibe, isn't it? It's that vibe.
It is. It certainly is. But anyway, it won't be that vibe with anybody else. But Aggy, true to form, coming up
That's
with
why he's here, isn't he?
Interesting answer. Let's call it that. I'm feeling kind. My answer to this one is an answer that it's maybe a little bit of recency bias, but do you know what? It certainly was one of my favourite finals of all time. And it was the final between Argentina and France at this last year's World Cup in 2022. There was a little bit of unknown going into the World Cup. I think everybody thought Winter World Cup. I'm not quite sure about that. But then when you sat at home and there's a game on at 2:00 in the afternoon, things started changing a little bit, and you thought, I like this. This is not too bad. I'm enjoying this. It's all right. So yeah, I think it was a very, very good time for me. I just started a new job. It was all positive. I was watching the games and I was really enjoying it. And it then ended with a crescendo, as it were, with Argentina versus France in the final. It was an absolutely mental game. I don't know if you'll agree with me, boys, but it was an absolute crazy game. It looked at one point to all the world that Argentina was going to run away with it, and then Kylian Mbappe scored, I think, 2 goals in about 5 minutes, I think, at one point, and brought France right back into it. 3-3 after extra time, and then Argentina won 4-2 on a penalty shootout, crowning Lionel Messi the man of the match, and cementing his legacy as the greatest footballer of all time. But yeah, an excellent game. Again, before the match, before the tournament, I think a lot of people didn't know what to expect, but I think it was a resounding success. And I think that final, what an advertisement for football, what drama. And like I say, finally got to tip the cap and pay homage and farewell to Lionel Messi on the world stage. So yeah, that's my favourite final of all time.
Unbelievable final.
Yeah, it has to go down as the greatest final of all time. Surely, like the stakes, it's a World Cup final. Messi's probably last major international tournament against Mbappe, who's kind of there to potentially take the crown. And then the game that it turned out to be Argentina looking comfortable for about 2/3 of it, and then out of nowhere it just, as you say, Kemp exploded. And I think it also included the greatest save of all time, Emiliano Martinez. Yeah, 124 minutes into a 123-minute game.
The score's at 3-3. The score's at 3-3. Jesus, crazy. And yeah, Messi getting a brace, Mbappe getting a hat-trick, scoring his penalty. Yeah, it did really feel as though it was not just an unbelievable final, but a bit of a passing of the torch as well. Because even though Mbappe didn't win the game, I mean, Jesus Christ, he did his best, didn't he? Bless him.
Yeah, hat-trick in a World Cup final, you can't do much more than that. But yeah, great answer. And I think if the discussion was what's the greatest football match of all time, I think anyone would be hard-pressed to argue against that being the answer. So a very, very valid pick for favourite. Last, but I was just going to show there, lads, I'm not going to lie, I completely forgot we've still got one more question to go. But Aggy, I think this is the first time you're last in here, certainly on an episode I've hosted. So close us off on episode 78, mate. What's your question for this week?
I think it is. My question is, in our lifetime, who is the greatest player to have never won an international tournament? And Skin, I'll start with you.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet, lads. I thought about Ryan Giggs, first of all. I thought about maybe Gareth Bale as well, considering his success at club level. But then I thought, it's got to be an England player, hasn't it? In our lifetime, as Aggie said, never won an international tournament. It's got to be one of them, and I have to go with Wayne Rooney. He was my answer a couple of weeks ago for greatest Premier League player of all time. For those of you that are listening on Spotify and aren't watching us, Kemp has just left the room and potentially the call, and potentially Loaded Sport as a whole, but he's back and smiling, so that's all good. But yeah, ultimately I had to go for an England player, and ultimately I had to go for who I think is the greatest England player of our lifetime, and that's Wayne Rooney. Burst onto the scene as a young teenager, as we know, went to, Euro 2004, 18 years old, and was playing very, very well, scored a brace against Croatia, got sent off in World Cup 2006. We didn't make the Euros, and then we kind of didn't really do too well in the early to mid 2000s and 10s, and then he was gone by the time World Cup 2016 came. World Cup 2018 come around. There we go. Obviously, after we got knocked out in embarrassment in the round of 16 to Iceland in Euro 2016, that was his last major international tournament. So yeah, for me, the best player to have never won an international tournament is Wayne Rooney.
Nice.
I'm glad I was muted then, by the way, because I was very, very bitter about that Iceland performance and Wayne Rooney there. So I'm glad I was on mute and we can move forward. Aggie?
Yeah, Sam, we'll go to you next.
Yeah. So, same as Dawson, short and sweet. From England's golden generation to Belgium's golden generation ratio.
Teaser serpent.
I'm just going to lead a wrist of his honours. I've completely butchered. I don't know. I can't think how to say it.
Read a list of his honours.
Yeah, that's the one. Read a list of honours. So, 1 Belgian Pro League, 1 Belgian Cup, 1 Belgian Super Cup, DFB Pokal, DFL Super Cup, 5 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, 5 EFL Cups, 1 Community Shield, which I found really odd. City only 1 Community Shield, and 1 Champions League, which he was chasing. Of course, it is the Belgian Kevin De Bruyne, one of the most gifted centre midfielders of all time, I'd probably say. Definitely one of the probably top 5 centre midfielders in the Premier League we've ever seen. And obviously is playing for a Belgium side, as we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that was managed a lot of that by Roberto Martinez, and their golden generation was wasted, and he was a large part of that. He's getting older, getting a bit on a bit now. But yeah, just to say he's never won an international tournament. They're very on similar lines between, I think, Belgium's golden generation and England's. Just massively wasted potential. And yeah, so Kevin De Bruyne for me, after all he's done in his domestic career, I can't see him doing it now with Belgium. I can't see him winning a European or definitely not a World Cup anytime soon. So yeah, I think his window's probably closed for that. But now I've said that, of course, they're probably going to go on to win the Euros. So lump on
Congratulations to Belgium fans all over the world.
Them now.
You've won the World Cup. Congratulations.
You've won every tournament for the next 20 years. Well done. I think that's a solid shout.
I think that's a great shout, yeah. Kemp, we'll come across to you next.
I feel like my answer's best here, boys. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like my answer might be best. Because I've gone with a Ballon d'Or winner. And I don't think you two have gone with the Ballon d'Or winner just yet. And it's the year 2000 Ballon d'Or winner, the turn of the millennium. And it is the one, the only. It is Luis Felipe Madeira Caero Figo. One of the greatest players I think of all time. I might be wrong in that, but I just I watch Figo's highlights on YouTube and whatever it might be, and even remember him playing for Real Madrid back in the day. I was a little bit too young to remember him playing for Barcelona in the most controversial transfer of all time. Highly recommend that documentary on Netflix, by the way, if you've not seen it. The Figo one came out not so long ago. If you've not seen it, I highly recommend it, about the transfer between Barcelona and Real Madrid. But yeah, I mean, Sam, you just mentioned it there. You've reeled off some Kevin De Bruyne honours. I don't think I need to do that because, Aggie, you're the one that's asked the question. You're the arbiter of who's answered the question correctly. And in 1989, while Luis Figo was playing for Portugal's under-17 team, they won the FIFA Under-20 World Cup. So surely I've won, because that's how you run things.
Is that an international tournament now?
I think you've just shot yourself in foot.
International tournament.
A FIFA Under-20 World Cup.
Red flag.
He'd won an international tournament.
That is.
Oh my God! Are we having a laugh? It's Under-20s.
Right.
What's going on?
Right. Forget about that. But is that not a tournament at international level? By the very definition of it.
Am I going to get done on the technicality?
You are getting done here on the technical.
That's about it. You brought the fucker up as well.
I know. I thought I would be clever bringing it up. I thought I'd be clever bringing it up, but I've been done by it. You know what? I don't care. I'm breaking the rules. I'm breaking all the rules, and I'm sticking with Luis Figo. He got very close to winning a proper international tournament with Portugal in 2004. Unfortunately, it was usurped by Greece. So fair play, Luis Figo. Unfortunate there, but let me just reel off his honours. Twice La Liga winners with Barcelona, twice La Liga winner with Real Madrid, Copa del Rey wins, Champions League wins, Cup Winners' Cup wins, Serie A winner 4 times at Inter Milan, and the list goes on and on and on. He did win some youth championships again. I'm not quite sure on whether you're going to let me get away with that. Aggie is the arbiter of all knowledge, and like I say, under 15 level is the most important thing to Aggie, so probably not. But again, Ballon d'Or winner as well, which is why my answer was Luis Figo, but it looks like I've been disqualified, so what can you do?
Yeah, until you said that, to be fair, I thought that was quite a good shout. I've gone very different with this, and I don't know if Kemp, Sam, you'll let me have it. When I searched and I did a bit of research on this,
the most boring James Milner or someone like that.
It surprised me that this bloke had actually never won an international tournament. I'm going with Claude Makelele. Considering the fact that the best he got was in 2006, he finished as runner-up with France. I think as a defensive-minded person myself, I always look at players' defensive duties. And I think throughout his career, when he was at Madrid, when he was at PSG, and of course his long span at Chelsea, I think for me, Makelele was just a standout performer. And it amazes me that he hasn't won an international tournament, considering the fact that in 98 and 2000, when France went back-to-back on international wins, he wasn't called up. He wasn't a part of the squad. The best and only chance that he had was in 2006 when they lost in the final on penalties. I think it was to Italy. In the end, it was Zidane's swan song, weren't it? Yeah, when he headbutted Materazzi, I want to say.
Correct.
I think so. But yeah, for me,
son of a hole.
I don't know if Kemp, Sam, you guys think is that good at all. But Skin, I know you're a big admirer.
Oh yeah, unbelievable! Yeah. Club. I mean, there's a reason they've named a literal role on the football pitch after him because he was an absolute Rolls Royce of a bloke. And to be fair, Aggie, I thought you were going to say Francis Jeffers, so you've exceeded my expectations on who you said.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Makaleli then. Is my answer.
Yeah, it's a good shout. To be fair, it's a good answer.
Aggie, there you were just about to say that I'm a big fan of him. I don't think I've ever said Claude Makaleli. It's a name out loud until just then.
That's a load of bollocks.
All right,
that's a load of rubbish. You say it all the time when we're playing clubbies.
Do I? Tell me,
Yeah.
give me one quote where I've said his name.
Every time you go into a tackle.
I don't think he has.
Just Dawson all over.
You said Makaleli before. You said Makaleli plenty of times.
Oh, how much is controversy going off in this answer? You got me answering Figo when he's won at under 20 level. You've got Aggie saying Claude Makaleli for Dawson and putting words in his mouth. I think we need to wrap it up, boys. It's getting tasty.
Yeah, we're scrapping in a minute.
That's the best time to keep going, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah, I know, but it's a PG-rated product. We don't want to be getting too sexually aggressive, do we?
I hope it's not. I was talking about getting cock in hand, but it fucking kids.
It's fucking not, because we've got explicit logo on Spotify, and when I upload to YouTube, I have to point out that it's not made for kids, so it's definitely not. Say what you want, lads. And to be fair, after we watched that YouTube video of that geezer getting his arsehole out 3 seconds in, I'll say what we want, because it's still up there. It's got about 50 million views, so maybe we're missing a trick by not actually getting our fucking tallywhackers out.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, we'll see. We'll save it for
episode. I'm not sure Aggie's camera's got a wide enough scope.
No, he'll have to wheel back first and then do it. But we'll close episode 100 off with that one, I reckon, to celebrate. But anyway, lads, that is episode 78. Start prepping your questions for episode 79 next week. And before we get stuck into the usual weekend plans, I do just want to circle back to something that Sam mentioned earlier, Aggie mentioned earlier, should I say, about he's got a couple of days off after tomorrow, and he's going to be spending the majority of it watching the Thanksgiving football. We've got 3 games on Thursday, and we've got a big first time ever Black Friday game as the New York Jets face the Miami Dolphins at Friday, 8 p.m. But the reason I'm bringing that back up is I just want to have a bit of sprinkle of some NFL discussion and, more importantly, predictions for this weekend. Because, Sam, you are kicking off this week and the Thanksgiving football with a 5:30 start as the Packers go to the Lions in what should be a great divisional game. Aggie, you are closing off that Thanksgiving football with another big divisional game as the Seattle Seahawks host the San Francisco 49ers. And then Kemp, 6 o'clock Sunday, mate, it's Patriots versus Giants. So let's get some predictions for our games this upcoming weekend. I'll start off, and I think the Giants are going to win, mate, because the Patriots are shit. And if I'm going to put this out to you now, lads, if the Giants do win, my question next week will be, what the fuck is going on with the New England Patriots? So just bookmark that just in case. That is genuine. If Giants win, that is my question next week. And I'd like to discuss how the fuck we've gone from what they were to a 3-9 team that they will be. A 2-9 team they will be, even worse, if the Giants win this weekend. So that's my question ready, should the Giants win. So I'm going to
my question will be after that, just straight after your question there, you don't even need the wheel, is Tommy DeVito the greatest quarterback of all time? That would be my question.
Thinking after DJ.
She's slinging him. She's slinging him, Dawson.
I need to wrap this up. I'm in and out.
She's always slinging them, bless her. She does a good job at it as well. But anyway, I'm going Giants by a touchdown. Kemp, what about you, mate?
Yeah, Giants by a tud, I think, is a good shout, to be fair. I think we look revitalised under Tommy DeVito in the last game, to be fair. And like you say, the Patriots are an absolute fucking shower of shit. So I honestly do think, I'm completely with Sam. What Sam said earlier about the Packers resonates with me so much, in that we're fucked, we're out of it, we're 3-8, we're not getting anywhere near, especially in the division that we're in. But I'm actually enjoying watching Tommy DeVito play without that pressure. He's the quarterback now. We're going to be riding with him until the end of the season unless something drastic happens. So I'm enjoying watching him play. Looking forward to seeing what he's got for us. And the performance against the Commanders last weekend was commanding, I would say, from Tommy DeVito. So There you go. So yeah, I'm going Giants by a touchdown as well, and hopefully we can get one over on the Patriots, because that's always nice.
I'm sure his mum will prep him a lovely dinner should he come home with a
win against the Patriots. What a woman.
Great woman. Aggie, like I said, you've got Thursday, Friday booked off. You're going to be spending the majority of Friday sleeping after staying up all night to watch the Seattle Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers. What's your prediction?
You've done this fucking skew, which you may as well started with me, haven't you? And done it in order.
We're working back, mate. Working back,
fucking
baby.
Crazy boy.
I think we're going to get absolutely hammered. I think based upon what we saw against the Rams, we had a decent lead and we just blew it. We're not good enough to be competing with the top sides in the NFC, let alone even thinking about anything like a Super Bowl. So I think maybe 2 or 3 touchdowns in favours of the 49ers. I think we're so far away from it. The fact that Lockett's been questionable every week so far this season, only just made it for last weekend's game. Walker's currently not even practicing. We're starting to get a bit depleted. Smith left halfway through the game, and then Locke threw an interception right towards the end that turned out to cost us. Even without Cooper Kupp, they were kind of carrying the game against us. So against San Francisco, it's just going to be an absolute maul, and it's a good job it's on after the watershed.
So it is. And Sam, kicking off this week, as I said, Packers against Lions. Packers coming off of a good win, I think you could say it, what you mentioned at the start, facing one of the informed teams who came from behind to beat the Chicago Bears last weekend. Lions love playing at home. Have you got a chance this weekend?
No, I'm afraid not. I don't think I've ever written us off this firmly against the Lions team before, but no, I can't see any way I will win this one. We've already played them once this year, and the first half was atrocious. First half was so bad. I think it was like fucking 24-3 at half time or something like that. And we made a little bit of a push in second half, but it was never really close. I just think they're far too strong and we're far too inexperienced to really bother them at the minute. So no, I'm not expecting anything. So I'm going to go in it. Definitely going to watch it. I've got no expectation, and who knows? But I think I do really know.
Yeah, I think so too. Lions at home are a different beast, and my bold prediction for them to make at least the NFC Championship game is looking half okay. Although the Niners and the Eagles, I'm sure we'll have something to say about that. But we'll see. We're almost there, lads. It's we're on the back straight of the regular season already, aren't we? That's how quick it comes and goes. But this is where it really starts heating up now, and I can't wait for playoff season. But lads, episode 78 is done, and Sam, I'll circle back round. I'll start with you for this one. What's your plans for the weekend?
Well, we've got 5-a-side on Wednesday. Peek behind the curtain.
It's early, isn't it? Oh, I genuinely thought it was Thursday.
Oh, mate. Oh, no, yeah. Recording on Tuesday this week, which is just making the week feel twice as long as it normally is. So I've got 5-a-side tomorrow. I'm looking forward to, probably mixed in with swimming Thursday. Now that Thursday's freed up, so I've got a bit more time to do that Thursday. Saturday will be swimming as well, and I don't think I've got anything planned other than, as I say, Thanksgiving Thursday as well. I'll be watching the Packers from 5:30.
That's fair. You mentioned last week in the weekend plans you were going to. There was a fair by Kemp. For anyone that's listening, Kemp just jumped out. You were going to Morton for a Christmas fair or market fair or something. Did you go?
Yeah, I went to that. Katie's mum and dad got a stall. He makes like little woodwork things, and they left us with the stall for about 2 hours. And
did they working?
Yeah, I ended up getting my sales head on, didn't I?
Yeah.
So stood there, just fucking banter with old people walking past. Like Katie were absolutely loving it. She was like, "Fucking hell, you're quite good at this." I'm like, "Well, I've got a bit of something in my card, you know."
Love that.
Yeah, so I got my sales head on Saturday night, and it took over £100. To be fair, it was most successful stall that they've had so far.
Did you really patronisingly give Dad the money and say that's how you do it type thing?
Just winked at him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Over. Yeah.
Scruffed his hair up like that. Scruffed my own hair up there. There we go. Aggy, have you got any flash score commitments this weekend, or is it a pretty chilled one for you?
I've got 2, mate. First time I'm going back to back on the same day, and my first prime time game as well. I've got, first of all, Sheffield United against Bournemouth at 3:00. And then I've got Brentford against Arsenal at 5:30.
Big.
Which is a game I'm very much looking forward to. So it's like the calm before the storm, I think. 2 sides that are struggling against relegation, to one that's trying to keep up with City and one that's trying to get close to European football. So that should be a good thing for Saturday. Sunday, of course, in preparation for Red Zone, me and Jack have started going out and throwing the ball a little bit more, get myself ready for Super Bowl Sunday and the one time a year we get to play American football. Of course, I got injured a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going to be taking things very steady. However, Mudge has kindly bought me some gloves, which you might be able to see them, ready for when we go to Super Bowl Sunday. So
Like, fuck for that. I was sick of them fucking fingerless gloves. I didn't even go, but them
How
fingerless...
did you know?
Of course I fucking knew. Them fingerless gloves, you can't... It's like the exact opposite point of what you're supposed to be wearing.
I'm not saying, like, how did you know they're not going to be any good, but how did you know that's the ones they used if you never go?
It's because this fucking... They used to rip fuck out of you in that game day chat what I recently left.
I've been going to play American football on these Super Bowl Sundays for 3 years now, and each time I've got a minimum of 3 touchdowns, so I'll take it.
Yeah, we play for about 7 hours, mate. So
well, we don't. We play for 2, and you just stand there for about an hour and a half of it, just going.
That's that, mate, in your head
every time. But yeah, that's my plan for the weekend. Hopefully, money holds up. But if it doesn't, I'll be able to sit, chill, and watch the NFL on Red Zone without worrying about the Seahawks.
That's fair, mate. Why don't you fill Sam in on? You mentioned Mudge sending you some gloves. Why don't you tell them the full story of how they turned up?
Please say they weren't involved in a trade.
No. They were a birthday present for about a year and a half ago that he seemed to have misplaced. So he's bought me some and said Merry Christmas for them. And the name that he put on the package is Adam Can't Catch a Ball Marsden.
Big fan of that.
So, yeah.
It is. I was just dragging it out a little bit there, just in case Kemp turned back up, so we can ask him about his weekend. But he's not coming, is he? So we'll leave it there. But lads, good to be back. Good to see you, and we'll be back next week. Get prepping those questions, and remember.
Wait, what are you doing?
You what?
What are you doing at weekend?
Nothing.
I want to get it in because I know you can fucking moan like shit if I don't ask you.
I was going to cry all night, mate. I was ready for it. That's why I was trying to wrap it up quick. I don't actually think I'm doing. Oh no. We're going to watch Anne-Marie at Birmingham Arena. She's a big fan, so got tickets in the box. So yeah, we'll be going to Birmingham. I don't know, early mid-afternoon on Saturday. Get some food and then go and watch that. I know about 2 of the songs, so I think I'm going to have to do like a bit of a listen between now and Saturday and learn up on some lyrics. But should be good. I think she's pretty decent. And like I said, DG absolutely loves her, so should be a decent night.
Ciao, adios. We're done. Yes.
Good night, everybody.